Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury, and welcome to today's daily stock recap. It is Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021, and today we're just going to go over a handful of stocks that we cover on our Sunday's video. This week it's going to be Apple, Tesla, Palantir, and Clover Health. And guys, I mean, let's just be honest, this market is really hard to predict. It's having a hard time to find some ground, and we've been just in a bear market the last few weeks. We had stimulus hopes, we gapped up, we had a solid Monday, and then we essentially just gave it back, and it just tells you the overall direction obviously is short. But it's also frustrating because as a trader, as a day trader, we take opportunities on any day, whether it's short or long. But if you have long-term swings, then you're starting to really see that it's more, pressure on the downside. And what I found personally is I've never held on to as many swings as I have now. And what I'm finding is that literally it's the scalps that are winning, right? So yesterday, being up in Clover and not selling my position, and I mentioned I went pretty heavy basing at 9. And all of a sudden, what was interesting today was there was this sort of drop in the pre-market, guys. I mean, this is what's happening, is that you're holding, you gap up and you're holding the level, and then all of a sudden right here at 5 o'clock, which is 8 a.m. Standard time, Eastern time, this massive drop in the SPY, right, went from 390 all the way down to 385. And so all of a sudden we had a positive day, and we're already entering sort of bear territory. And then we just had this sort of reclaim, which again was essentially closing the gap. We had this sort of reclaim here, and it just didn't last, and it was on very light volume. And so what I'm noticing is, especially on the RSI, is that we're starting to really overbuy stocks in the pre and post market, and then they just sell off. Nothing holds, right? So we saw Rocket, right? Rocket took off yesterday, and it just blasted up right into space. And then what happened today? Shorts took over, completely tanked, and gave back most of its gains, if not all the gains. And so a lot of these stocks are fade plays, and a lot of you guys out there who are probably watching this video may not be day traders. You might be someone who takes a swing. And so I think some of you guys posted on the channel, I got Clover at 14, I got Clover at 9. Guys, this market is clearly trying to find which direction it wants to go. We just passed a 1.9 trillion stimulus, and we're still trying to figure out where exactly are we going with this economy. We're reopening. Texas is reopening. All these states and tiers are changing. I got my vaccine, first dose today. And so we're opening and we're getting vaccinated. Things are getting better, right? And the stock market is a sort of 6-month ahead predictor of where we're going to be. And so everything you see here, right, should improve. A lot of stay-at-home plays and stocks aren't necessarily going to hurt, right? Not necessarily, because a lot of people are going to go to that sort of permanent structure of working from home, right? That could be part of the work structure, is going to be working from home, and a lot of people are getting used to it. And so a lot of the work home plays necessarily aren't going away. The Pelotons, the Zooms. And so this market, guys, is really just it's really just cooling off. And I'm being perfectly honest, a month ago I really felt like we were just way overextended. And I mentioned to you guys pretty much in every video, right, is look at how, right, I mean, how, what the direction of the S&P has been, right, since the COVID. It's really just been positive and uptrending. But what's really interesting, guys, is look what happened here. We had a breakdown of the 50 back to the anchored VWAP around the election time, okay? And since then, we had the bounce on the 50-day, the bounce on the 50-day, and another bounce. And the fact that we failed to sort of come up here, and we failed, and we're retesting, tells me this thing really wants to break. The Bollinger Band signal, which is this upper and lower band, tells me that we're entering a channel, which we may be trading sideways. But just the heaviness of the market, it just feels like it really wants to sell off. I mean, honestly, down, and I'm mentioning, risking about 345, maybe potentially it'll come up to about 350 by the time we get there, kind of like we did here. But guys, it just feels heavy. And I just wanted to go over real quick the stocks. No levels are holding. Back here on Monday, we said, guys, as long as we close above 127.50, that's a valid level, which is one of the levels that we've identified. And now it's, it acted as resistance yesterday. And then today, another resistance level was broken. We had a pivot level here at 124, and we're not seeing any momentum. And look at where all the buyers came. Look where all the volume came in, right? It always comes in at the end. It seems like this last 15-minute candle is where all the buyers step in. And look where this sort of volume profile shows. This red line indicates what we call the point of control, which is where most of the shares are traded, right at that last candle, right? So this is where the buyers are for Apple's 121. But I know if you're playing options right now, it's just in games just really tough, right? Even if you're playing the long game, you know, getting this flush and maybe selling here, but really there's just, it's hard to sell because whenever you're buying the day before, you can't swing your options because they're tanking the next day, right? That's the problem, right? You buy something up here and then they just sell off. And so that's the hard part. So for us guys, clearly that the strongest to me resistance for Apple is going to be the 127.50. We haven't been able to close above it. And, you know, again, I'm still looking at this anchored VWAP, guys, as the potential low if we really start to slide down in this market back to 114 for Apple. It lines perfectly with the 200-day. And like I said, guys, if you're long Apple, I mean, that's why it's a scalpers type of market, right? You know, you can buy some here and just sell for 20, 30, 40, 50 cents a buck. It's just not the type of market where you can really get these types of upward move. Everything's just, you know, you see the fast moving SMA line, which is just takes basically a period of, you know, like 9 candles on the minute chart. It just really just tells you like, look, it's not, you know, it's downward and we're trading below it, and it's just hard to keep up in the RSI. Everything's just selling off. Okay, so guys, what I would be looking for in terms of Apple, you know, this 120 levels, our next key support that we had some previous support on recently for a few days. And like I mentioned before, my go heavy is 117.50 for Apple. It's been a solid support for us in the past. So 120 for a DAP play, you know, which is when I would add like 25% of my position, and then 117.50 is where I think you just have an ultimate steal in Apple. Okay, and then you're risking, of course, like we say, is you're mentioning the 113, 114 here. Okay. And Tesla's no different, guys. I mean, it really tried. This is when the market, the S&P tried. You know, it's the same thing, right? As it follows S&P. And so we really pushed, and we got up in here into the 701, and then we just sold off. I mean, nothing. Every time you see these wicks, look at these on my 15-minute chart. Look at these wicks, guys. I mean, it's just the prices are just getting pushed down, right? So just because you trade up here, you have to close up here for it to really count, right? So it got up here and it tested the pre-market highs, but then it just comes right back and closed right below the SMA line. Okay, and then we just had a again, another push on lighter volume. Okay, and then we just sold off and we can't hold the level. So 650 comes back into play. You know, to me, 650 is this key level right here, right? That's where we bounced off right here last week, right here, right? And the 659 looks like 660. So it's just hard to know where this market wants to go. And I remember calling this back in the earnings that Tesla was going back to 700. Guys, we may be potentially, I don't think, going to 470 or 500, but where is Tesla going to get some legs? You know, we're just breaking each level on not that terrible of volume either. And we've had this month plus of just negative momentum. And now we've traded, you know, we're essentially, you know, oversold on the RSI again. So we try and then we just fail. And so how many times does a stock try? And then it just ends up tanking and going down further, right? Until it can find immediate support, which to me, I could even argue it might go down to the 595, right? Which it was 620 here, but the 595 was also a strong resistance before we had this massive move going into the S&P. Okay, so again, the massive, you know, and you probably saw that too. You know, look at our 695, which was our previous heavy support. Look at how much resistance it's hitting once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times on the 15-minute channel. So it just tells you that the 695 is just a strong resistance, just like the 127.50 for Apple. Palantir getting pumped up. Let's go, Wall Street bets. We're obviously long this stock. It's been an absolute steal at the 25 level, and we got more validation here. You know, back at 24, and it's just an absolute steal at these levels, guys. You know, we have a lot of consolidation and support here in the 23.50 range, and so as soon as it hit that and it validated that, we heard the news on CNBC, and it's going to be, you know, one of those stocks that gets maybe pumped up. But I'm not worried about it. You know, we're just in a bear market, but you know, the sellers and the buyers, once the sellers flush out, the buyers are going to get in there, and we're going to come up. And this is the first time we're seeing this RSI as low as it is. You know, we're over essentially sold. And so let the negative momentum, you can see it's clearly flattening out. Let the sellers flush out. Let's get all of those lockout shares up, and then, you know, we're absorbing them. Kathy's absorbing them. You're probably absorbing them, right? Everyone wants to absorb Palantir at 23.50. And so, you know, expect these massive spikes. And I could see this thing gapping up even further and then potentially selling off and coming back in here in 24 tomorrow. I mean, so this is great, guys, but this is post-market, and it's always under low volume. So you can easily, you know, sort of, you know, fabricate what you want it to look like. And Clover is probably one of the biggest disappointments, guys. It's, you know, it's just funny that we haven't even tried to reclaim the 50-day in over like 3 weeks. And so I think I mentioned to you guys, this is a new stock that I just started trading. I was up yesterday, didn't sell. I was basing at 9, and today what worried me was right here, 5 o'clock. Again, we were trading just fine, sideways, and all of a sudden we had a breakdown. And I was like, wait a minute, we just traded below 9. And so, guys, we're making all-time lows, you know? So this is, again, a falling knife. So my best advice for you guys who are watching this, look for the engulfing candle, okay? Clearly on this chart, there's not an engulfing candle. And so if you want an example of an engulfing candle, it looks just like this, right? So it's basically a candle where if you took the previous candle or even the previous 2 days candle, it basically engulfs. So it takes over, right? It has a higher, clearly a higher high, closed much higher, and it completely takes over. And if you look here, guys, all we're doing is just sort of consolidating or selling off, consolidating or selling off, right? And it's all around the same volume. You had the massive volume when you had the big Hindenburg, report. But guys, really, we haven't seen an engulfing candle. So when you see, let's say, even and I wouldn't even call it a double bottom, right? Because you've had double bottom several times. That's not it. I'm looking for an engulfing candle that would literally go from here and take us all the way back to 10. Okay, so at this point, guys, this is not necessarily just a price action. This is also just the overall market sentiment. Okay, so we can't just say, well, the stock terrible. Now, keep in mind, guys, the earnings has already come out, and tomorrow's day 3, and so day 3 is definitely always a good buy after an earnings play. So let's just see what it does. It seems like it held pretty well over here in the low 8s. But I know a lot of people, including myself now, they're stuck on the stock. And I mentioned yesterday in my video that I expected this thing to get right back up here into the 9.8. But we just, and we held that level. I mean, this is what I was expecting, right? We would hold the level and we would just have this sort of quick run up. And that's what we did this morning, right? But because we were already in the 8s, we didn't get to the 980s, we got to the 930s, right? But had we kept this level, we would have tested the 980s, but there was just a sell-off. And so that's what makes it harder even for me, because swinging stocks right now is extremely difficult because you just don't know the direction of the market, right? And like I said, this is just really odd that you're just constantly every day just selling off lower and lower, and you're trying to buy and add to your position. So my biggest advice for you guys who comment on the channel, I appreciate you guys again commenting on the video yesterday, look for that engulfing candle on the daily before you want to get involved. And that's when you can confirm, like, yeah, I can definitely see the buyers in here. But right now it's just the overall market's just, and you can say the same thing for, look at AI. C3 AI completely is now selling below where it came out on its IPO. So it just gives you an idea of what the market's doing overall, even with a stock that went double its IPO recently. Okay, so with that said, guys, again, I'm not going to pretend to be excited about what the stock market's doing. Obviously, we're all sort of, most of us are long biased. I mentioned to you guys I'm usually a day trader, not an investor. But what I found now is anything that I've taken for whatever reason as a swing, it's just harder you end up being a bag holder rather than getting out, which is the nice thing about day trading. So whether the market's down or up, you're in and out of your positions within seconds, minutes, or hours, and you're really losing a lot of the emotion of trading. And so this is sort of new to me because I was more sticking to my plan, but the problem is the market doesn't care about your plan, right? So with that said, guys, hopefully if you did enjoy this video, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to this channel. I do respond to all of the comments, so if you have any questions or comments about any of your trades, feel free to post them below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.